action cam suddenly ran out of battery, but I was in the middle of that shot.
That's why I decided to put it together in the form of a triptych. Hello photographer, welcome back to my channel. It's Belinda and this is where we talk all about photography, from inspiration to camera techniques to editing skills so that you could take better photos. I'm so glad to have you back on this channel this week, and for our point of view video today we are checking out together the borough of Chelsea, which is a relatively well-off, affluent area of the city of London, which I think will definitely be reflected in the footages as well as the shots later on in this video. I am shooting on my Canon 5D Mark IV, which is my absolute workhorse, paired with a 24mm prime f2.8. For most of the time I have it on zone focusing, as we will touch on as well later in the video. So without further ado, let's dive right in. I was strolling along the bank looking for my first shot of the day, and it crossed my mind that this was the very place. This is a type of situation that I enjoy shooting. There was a low, warm afternoon sun glowing from the back, sunlight shining through the tree branches, forming a beautiful texture on the floor in front of me. And there was a bike lane, so the conditions were met. I snapped like crazy, but after a few shots, I realized that this was probably not the best angle. The subject, which was supposed to be the bikes, couldn't really stand out from the background. They were almost either merged into the larger vehicles behind or into the buildings on the other side of the river. The traffic came pouring in anyway, so I decided to move. I walked further down along the bike lane, hopefully getting to a place where the light could hit the bikers at an angle so that a rim light would form around their outline, carving them out from the muddled background. So I waited as traffic swept the streets, kept snapping and working out where exactly I want the bike to be in the frame, and finally, the right biker came along with the sun hitting at the right angle, and I pressed the shutter in that very moment. This place reminds me of checkerboard lighting. The light and dark parts alternated nicely, and this is a great setup waiting for the protagonist to step into. Here we go, biker pulling in just right. Fun fact, by the way, after the biker left, I actually stayed at the same position for a little bit longer, just in case something interesting would happen. This is a triptych that I created out of a sequence of events that happened. Basically, I saw that there were a few pigeons on the floor. I thought that the way they were arranged was quite cute, and I just originally intended to take a few photos, but what I was not expecting was that a woman would all of a sudden walk into the frame, and that basically scared off all the pigeons. I thought that a photo sequence would be a great way to tell this really intriguing series of events in a light-hearted way, and so that is why I decided to put it together in the form of a triptych. The tree and its shadow on the white wall was almost like a duet, one echoing another. It was such a pretty sight. So I anticipated as he got up and walked between the tree and its shadow. I shot while he went in and out of the light and decided to go with this one. There was an incredibly similar scene across the next street, but with a slightly different shadow on the floor. So I decided to try out this street as well. Yet again, we have a very similar corner of the street, mainly because of the way the shadow from a tree hit the white wall. I wanted to play with the situation and see how I could come up with something different. It turned out to be an unintentional self-portrait featuring my artificially elongated shadow. This was a beautiful scene of a family of 4 riding their bikes in a row. It was a difficult shot to time though, because the cars were passing by in the back. This shot was a compromise, I'd say, in terms of composition and cropping, but I still like it.
So as usual, I'm using Sony Focus myself now. My aperture is around f11, so that allows me to have everything in focus in between somewhere around 0.6 meters to infinity. As for my shutter speed, I have it on 1/400 because I often photograph people and bikes, so I think that would be the minimum that is required to freeze motion. As for ISO, because it's a fairly good day, I'm shooting around 400. I might adjust it depending on the particular situation that I'm in, but I think 400 is a pretty versatile ISO for high contrast lighting situations as such.
There was a combination of both natural and artificial lights, all shaped like lines. This would make for a nice geometry play if something comes up right in the middle of that strand of light. It took quite a bit of waiting for the scene to happen because it wasn't a very busy road. But at one point, a taxi came driving by, so I shot a photo when a taxi sign comes under the light as it moved.
There are a few shots that I did just now that I don't have footage for because my action cam suddenly ran out of battery, but I was in the middle of that shot, so I didn't have time to change out the battery, and that's why I didn't have any recorded footage for those photos. But I'm going to put all of that in the end of this video, just as usual as a lineup of all the shots I've got from this video.
Somehow, I've reached Buckingham Palace during the last bits of the sunset. Straight off, I knew I had to create something out of this inverted, V-shaped shadow, or light, depending on how you see it, on the floor. The plan was to wait for a bike again because that is the only realistic vehicle that could fit into the strand of light in any meaningful way. In a few of my latest videos and/or blog posts, some of you started telling me about your favorite shots in the entire series, which I think was really interesting for me. It's just really interesting to see how different people perceive the same set of photos differently, so definitely feel free to let me know in the comments below which ones from this series are your favorites. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!